ended up deciding that it was better to simply shoot an arrow into his back instead.
Over a little fish? I mean, I understand you in survival mode. But wasn't you gonna give him the fish anyway?
Show who the fuck you is, nigga.
I'll make it up to you.
Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right way? Keep going. Nigga, why not me? Yo, how we doing? We vibing? We good? I hope so. We got another video. The worst things Genghis Khan did to his enemies by serious history. Y'all know who Genghis Khan is, man. Let's get it, man. We're gonna see what this guy did.
Here are the most horrific things Genghis Khan did to his enemies, ranked from bad to oh my. Here are the most horrific things Genghis Khan did to his enemies, ranked from bad to oh my god.
I say Genghis Khan.
The worst things
Genghis Khan
did to his enemies.
Let's say Chinggis Khan. Genghis Khan, Chinggis Khan. He said Chinggis Khan. So am I pronouncing that wrong? Is Chinggis Khan, not Genghis Khan? Or is this another person? Maybe.
Ah, that is horrible. Number 8, offering his brother Bektir over a fish. So we all know Genghis Khan was a pretty brutal warlord. We're making a list of his most horrific acts after all, but he didn't grow up as that big a deal. When he was 9, his father Yasuge was poisoned by a rival tribe, and Genghis, then known as Temujin, and his family were abandoned by their tribe and forced to figure out how to stay alive on their own on the hardcore Mongolian steppe. Even though he was still just a kid, Genghis was out there hunting and foraging because now he had to provide for his family or they'd all starve. So this is what he does for years, and one day when he was 14, after a long day of fishing, he brings home some fish that he'd caught, and his half-brother Bektir just takes one and eats the whole damn thing all by himself. Like, what the hell, Bektir? This understandably pissed off our boy Genghis, and instead of conducting a constructive conversation based on the principles of nonviolent communication, he ended up deciding that it was better to simply shoot an arrow into his back instead. This led to the unfortunate consequence of his brother dying. Well, unfortunate for Bektir at least. Killing Bektir wasn't just a way to get back at him for not sharing food. It was also a way for little Temujin to establish himself as the dominant figure in the family. Bektir was kind of his mom's favorite. A little easier to be the favorite kid if there are less kids, I guess. Number 7.
Over a little fish? I mean, I understand you in survival mode, but wasn't you gonna give him the fish anyway? Or was you gonna give him a half a fish?
Don't let dirt vert go to your head. Ain't no bad as slime as me.
7. Killing people even after he died. So this list is not in chronological order, and a lot happened between the arrow incident with Bektir and Genghis Khan's death. In 1227, his empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, but on his deathbed at the age of 65, he gave his final orders on how his body will be buried after he passed away. He wanted to be remembered.
I ain't even gonna lie, surviving to 65 is a feat in itself.
Remembered as a god, and for that to work, he needed to make sure his corpse was never found. He ordered servants to carry his corpse into the wilderness so that nobody would notice. If anyone saw them as they were walking, they would instantly be killed. While some of his men went to bury his body, some soldiers remained at a distance standing guard. There are some legends that after burying his body, Genghis's men went as far as diverting an entire river to make sure nobody would find his tomb. These guys really took their job seriously. Anyways, when they came back from burying Genghis's body, they were all immediately executed by the soldiers.
Boy, hell no, man.
Standing by. Nothing personal or anything, but Genghis said, "No witnesses, so sorry, dude." According to some stories, the soldiers then ended their own lives to make sure the tomb's location was never leaked. But other—
What? Why? What? Why? But he's been dead. So if it's at best 6, 7 of you niggas, you are consciously knowing that, hey, I'm finna bury my guy and then I'm off myself because he said so. And what if you didn't? And what if you didn't do none of that shit? What if you didn't off them? What if you off yourself? What was he going to do? How was he even going to find out? The fuck am I missing? Am I missing something? It's tripping, bro.
stories say that these soldiers were all executed when they got back by another group of soldiers who were waiting for them. In any case, anyone who was involved—
I guess that answered my goddamn question. Well, damn. And why the hell they do that shit? Like, nigga, he's gone. Fuck, I don't know, man. That just is before my time, above my pay grade.
with the burial of Genghis Khan died just shortly after he did. So even after he was dead, Genghis was still personally died just shortly for them. In any case, anyone who was involved with the burial of Genghis Khan died just shortly after he did. So even after he was dead, Genghis was still personally killing more people. Number 6. Inalchuk's punishment. Ever heard of the Khwarezmian Empire? It was a pretty big deal back in the day. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent a caravan of around 450 men to a city called Otrar, bringing gold and various goods, hoping to establish a peaceful trade relationship. Pretty easy way to get on Cenghis's good side, except the governor of the city named Inalchuk thought this was a spy mission, so naturally he started an investigation while the 450 men awaited trial. Oh wait, no, he executed the entire caravan and gave the goods to his friends in another city. If his half-brother eating a whole fish angered Genghis Khan, just imagine how he must have felt then. After a failed diplomatic mission, which resulted in another one of his diplomats getting killed by the Khwarezmians, Genghis Khan took a business trip out of Mongolia and completely decimated their entire empire. We're not talking about some little
By himself? Be a monster.
tribe here. Look at their map. Some estimates say about 10 million people died. Take a look at
God damn!
all that's left of Otrar. But that's not the horrible thing we're focusing on here, because any maniac can kill 10 million people, and
Nigga, what?
the fuck is he talking about? Why did he say that so casual?
He said any maniac could kill 10 million people. Something I didn't know.
to more things he did in Khwarezmia later in the list. For now, let's stick to Otrar and talk about what he did to Inalchuk, who was captured alive. After the regular, boring torture, Inalchuk is brought in front of Genghis, and as punishment for his greed, he orders his men to pour molten silver onto Inalchuk's eyes and face. It may have been into his ears, or his whole face, or his whole body depending on the story, but the point is that it was absolutely brutal. Number 5. Using human
And
shields.
then we just gonna go past that shit? Hey, bro, what the fuck? So the niggas holding him had to get burnt too. Jesus Christ, man.
Imagine how tough it must be to invade China back in 1211. At this time, the Mongols were still transitioning out of their nomadic horse-riding troublemaker phase to the empire-building phase, and they still hadn't figured out the whole siege warfare thing. When Genghis begins to invade territory in China that was controlled by the Jin dynasty, he's kinda stumped. These Chinese cities have huge walls with huge doors, and on top of that, they don't even let him in. Rude! The annoying defenders of these cities would also do things like shoot his men with arrows and plant booby traps and stuff. So, to minimize Mongol casualties, he came up with a brilliant idea: capturing civilians and prisoners of war to use as human shields, a tactic known as karash, meaning living boards. The Mongols would pillage surrounding towns and take prisoners to use as human shields. They would take these prisoners to the cities they were trying to siege and hide behind them as they were shot with arrows from the defenders. The prisoners being in the front of the line would also be the ones to walk into any traps that were intended for the Mongols. You might be thinking, human shields? That's not very original. But what made this extreme was Cenghis's shields weren't just men. He included women and children in there too. Imagine what it was like for the Jin soldiers in the city to have to shoot women who looked like their wife or mom. Sometimes the
Yeah, that's fucked. Ruthless.
Mongols took this tactic even further. During sieges, they would force the captives to carry siege equipment towards the walls, knowing full well that they'd be the first to get hit by the defenders' arrows, bombs, and boiling oil. Yeah, pouring boiling oil on attackers was apparently normal back then. And Genghis Khan didn't use this tactic just once. It became his calling card, showing he was willing to sacrifice anyone just to reach his goals. In fact, he was probably more than willing, he probably enjoyed it. Number 4. Siege.
Yeah, niggas like that, they have to enjoy a little bit because, god damn, all that screaming doesn't bother you or nothing. I mean, I guess they would get numb after a while.
Of Zhangdu. So the Mongols spend a few more years trying to figure out how to get into these Chinese cities, and through this, they get pretty good at it. By 1214, Genghis had destroyed a lot of Jin territory above the Yellow River and was sieging the capital city of Zhangdu, which is now modern-day Beijing. Genghis sends an ultimatum to the ruler of Zhangdu demanding treasure and for the Jin to become a tribute state of the Mongol Empire. The emperor accepts, and Genghis is like, cool, and he and his men begin their journey home. When Genghis leaves, the emperor and his generals make a break from Zhangdu and run away to Kaifeng to make it their new capital city. The idea was they could then rebuild a Jin army to defend against Genghis again in the future. Now this pisses Genghis off, and by now we all know nothing good happens when this guy gets mad. So in 1215,
I mean, goddamn, you ain't have to kill your own homie. What the fuck did he do? He heard the news the exact same time that you. Goddamn.
Genghis and his army are back in China, and his forces surround Zhangdu, cutting off food supplies and trampling crops, forcing surrender through starvation. A rescue mission with food and supplies is sent to Jiangdu by the emperor in Kaifeng, but is intercepted by the Mongols, and the people inside the city can do nothing but watch as the Mongols not only kill their rescuers, but also eat the food that was intended to save them. Days turn to months, and it gets so bad that the citizens of Jiangdu resort to cannibalism. Finally, the Mongols break through the
Them boys, man. Them boys didn't play, boy.
city walls, and after months of being denied entry, they have lost any goodwill for the citizens of the city. When the Mongols storm in, they did what Mongols did and killed tens of thousands of people and took anything of value they could, including people with skills they deemed useful. It's reported that 60,000 women unalived themselves, choosing death over being taken by the Mongols. The city was set on fire, and the Mongols were only said to have left when the smell of death became too much for even them to bear. And that was only number 4 on this list. Number 3, the destruction of Merv. So we're back in Khwarezmia, and by 1221, Genghis has already destroyed the cities of Ochar and Samarkand. His forces, led by one of his sons, Tathlui, is assigned with the sacking of the city of Merv. Merv was one of the most prosperous cities in Khwarezmia, and its population was huge, estimated to be somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million citizens. By the time Chengis's army rolled up on Merv, everyone there already had heard of the horrific stories of the other cities, so the men there are ready to fight for their lives. After a week of trying to hold their tears and act tough, the city surrendered to the Mongols, hoping for the best. The best still being most likely pretty bad, but at the time, surrendering usually meant sparing the lives of the citizens of a city. Believing that the Great Khan would spare them, they willingly opened the gates and let the Mongols in. But remember, Chengis's time in Khwarezmia wasn't about conquest, it was about revenge. So once the Mongols got inside Merv, they were like, yeah, best we can do is slaughtering your whole population.
Emotional, damn it!
The Mongols rounded up every man, woman, and child in Merv. Some estimates put the number at over 700,000 people and brought them to the plains outside of the city. They divided the people up into groups and then slaughtered almost every single one of them. Only a few artisans and women were saved from the massacre. They then set fire to the entire city, and the once great city of Merv was wiped off the map. Oh, and the Mongols wanted to make sure the city would be gone forever, so they even destroyed the water systems, leaving the land barren so that recovery would be almost impossible. This is what it looks like today. What? Number 2, destruction of Nishapur. Okay, we're gonna stick in the same time period, and Genghis is still hard at work wiping Khwarezmia off the map after the disrespect he took personally in Ochar. In late 1220, Genghis sends his son-in-law, Tokushar, to siege a city called Nishapur. These guys had a
Bro, hold on. I know I said this before on a past video about Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan. He said Genghis Khan. This person, he said the disrespect, not the revenge of like, oh yeah, they smacked my brother, they killed my mother, they did all that. I'm finna get my get back. It's just like they want fucking with you. Now you finna kill a whole country, millions and millions of people off of that.
Originally surrendered to 2 of Chengis's other sons, only to renege their loyalty shortly after when they heard that some other cities were giving the Mongols some trouble. So Tokushar is there leading his army, and the people of Nishapur are fighting back pretty aggressively. In the battle, someone from inside of Nishapur shoots Tokushar with an arrow and kills him. Word gets back to Genghis Khan and his daughter, and guess what? They were not happy. Genghis sends his son Tathlui, the guy who just slaughtered everyone in Merv, to go and teach the people in Nishapur a lesson. The defenders of Nishapur only last a few days once Tathlui gets there, and he begins executing Chengis's orders. Every living thing in Nishapur, man, woman, child, livestock, dog, cat, you name it, is rounded up and taken to a field outside of the city. Tathlui and his men proceeded to kill every single living thing that once lived in the city, aside from a few hundred craftsmen that were spared and taken as slaves. The Mongols behead every single person and create 2 enormous piles of skulls, one of men and one for women and children. It's said that the blood ran so—
Bro, come on. And you telling me these niggas didn't enjoy this shit? They was sick because there's so many calculations of organized violent acts of going on right now. They're organizing schools. They're remembering—
What?
Their memory.
What are you talking about, man?
They're remembering which head was hit. Schools, that mean they scraped the skin and eye sockets out of— And you telling me these niggas didn't enjoy this shit? These niggas was sick, man.
so thick in the streets that it made the city a wasteland for years. Then, the entire city was then razed to the ground. Surprisingly, Nishapur was eventually rebuilt, and people actually still live there now in modern-day Iran. Number 1. Erasing the Tangut civilization. Ever heard of the Tangut people? Probably not, because Genghis Khan ordered their civilization to be completely erased. The Tangut people resided in what's now northwestern China, and while they were culturally similar to the Mongols and other steppe peoples, they'd come under the rulership of the Tang Chinese and then set up their own kingdom in the 11th century called Western Xia. According to some stories, Genghis Khan, nearing the end of his life, gave the Tanguts one last chance to submit to him, which their king flat out rejected. He was old and frail, but not dead, so Genghis reacted in the same way he reacted throughout his life and led his army on one last mission to wipe the Tangut people from the history books. And so in 1226,
Nigga, what? This is what I'm talking about with you niggas, bro. I don't get that. So you telling me just because I didn't join you, you gonna kill me? Nigga, what?
nah, just kidding.
Okay, I just went on that rant for no reason. Maybe I should have shut up, let the video keep going.
He actually gave the final order for the total eradication of the Tanguts. In fact, he specifically told his sons, "I don't want anyone to ever mention them ever again, except if it's in a cool educational YouTube video." The Mongols were like, "Okay, sure, we'll obliterate the Tanguts for you. That's a perfectly reasonable wish." Not knowing what's
You niggas some bitches, bro.
going on with Genghis, the new Tangut king, who replaced the last guy who died, showed up shortly after bringing gifts and trying to surrender. The Mongols make him wait outside of Genghis's tent for 3 days before killing him. Little too late, I guess. With the sack of the Tangut capital city, the Mongols burned historical records, erasing much of the Tanguts' written history. Unique Tangut architecture was demolished. The Tangut language and script stopped being used, and to this day there are barely any remnants of it. They left some survivors, but they were forcibly relocated across the Mongol Empire and China. As they did so, they assimilated, which further led to the near extinction of the Tangut identity. According to historian John Mann, the eradication of the Tangut people may be the first ever recorded example of attempted genocide.
Great ass video though. Appreciate y'all for coming to vibe. Pretty much it, man. I don't really have not much of the video, man. Genghis Khan, fucking terrorizer. Pretty much it, man. God damn. Genghis Khan, whatever the fuck it was, man. I'm out, man.